Good morning, everybody. It's Raven and Chloe from Wicked Little Art Dolls, and we're here today to show you some collectibles, show you some new things that we've been making, and also read a story. And it's a story from my childhood, one of my favorite books. So for those of you that don't know Chloe, this is Chloe. She is what you would call a reborn doll, but she is actually a little pixie. And we did brush her hair before putting this video on, but obviously she's been outside for a bit of a run. I mean, she is a fairy. She does like to go for a run around the yard. So even though she's in her best dress, oh my God, Chloe, your hair. So I actually made Chloe. And reborn dolls are made to be as realistic as possible. So that's why she has a really realistic look to her, which some of you might find a bit creepy. She's actually been hand rooted using a felting needle, and this is human hair. I didn't scalp anybody, if that's what you're thinking. The hair was actually donated. So somebody basically went from long hair to short hair and said, would you like my hair? And I said, hell yeah. I'll put it in a doll. So Chloe's got a bit of a Viking look to her as well. She's got a mohawk. Everyone who knows my work knows I love mohawks. I just think they give my dolls a nice little edgy feel. So Chloe, what will we do first, huh? No, we won't read the story just yet. We'll do some talking first. We might read the story last. She's very keen to read the story. It's one of her favorite books. Okay, so first thing I'm going to show you is I love to collect Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs dolls. And I was very lucky to come across this guy on eBay. He is circa 1930s. Felt, and he's just amazing. He's been made by Chad Valley, and maybe just sit there for a minute. And he's got his tag. So I've got Bashful. There was all these other dwarves up on eBay, but they're very expensive to buy. I could only afford one. So I'll have to save up if I want some more. But I was really stoked to even just get one, really. So Chad Valley did produce all of the dwarfs and Snow White. And I did hunt for a picture on the internet. And I found one so that you guys can have a look and see what the rest of the collection looks like. So I'll just grab that picture up on my phone. I'm really keen to get Snow White actually, because Snow White looks beautiful. There's all the dwarves there that were created by Chad Valley in the 1930s. They're a felt doll, and look how charming Snow White is. She's just so beautiful. Yeah, I gotta hunt her down, don't you reckon, guys? So gorgeous. So I have a lot of different Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs in my collection, but this one is probably the most valuable and the oldest that I've got. Most of mine are more vintage. They're more from the 1960s and more recent dolls. This is so I'm really happy that I won this guy. I didn't think I would win him in auction, but I did. And he's in really good condition. Like, I've looked on the internet and I've seen other dwarves on the internet of this age, and yeah, they're not in this good condition. So I mean, it's an old doll, 1930s, so you do expect there to be a little bit of fading, a little bit of, you know, soiling. His beard isn't probably as white as it was when he first came out, and his hands are a bit dirty. But he's an old doll, and I think for an old man, he's come about quite well, Mr. Bashful. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you, we might stand him up back here. Will he stand up there? Where did you get that from? I've got a puppy, and she waits till I'm filming to do naughty things. Say hello, everyone. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to show you, my mum collects teddy bears. Oh, she just gave you a big kiss, didn't she, Chloe? My mum collects teddy bears, so I've been, because she doesn't really know how to buy off of eBay, or doesn't have access to online auctions like I do, I've been finding her Gabrielle Designs Paddingtons because they're her favorite Paddingtons to collect. So she started out collecting any or every teddy bear, but now she's starting to refine her collection. So she's starting to sort of figure out which things she wants to collect more than others. And one of the things is the Gabrielle Designs Paddingtons. There's a few other Paddingtons she likes to collect too, but these guys are the ones that she's really stoked to collect. And her passion for these guys started when I bought my Paddington. Oh. So this is my Gabrielle Designs Paddington. And they're from the 1970s, so he's about as old as I am. He's sort of 1973, 1974. So again, you don't have... He's obviously been played with, and I don't mind that. I think if they come to you and they've been loved, that's really cool. So this is my Paddington, and when she saw my Paddington, she fell in love and said, "Oh my God, I want one." So I managed to get her one, and her Paddington is at home with her. But recently we just managed to score 2 more. So these guys are amazing. So you can remove their gumboots, but they are dead set real gumboots. So if you've been on my Instagram lately, you'll see a photo of these 3 guys all standing outside. So I got her this Paddington as well. So this Paddington will be going home to my mum. So he's a different coloured Paddington. Now these guys were made by, hang on, I've just got to check my notes. It's Shirley. Oh, my brain isn't what it used to be. Shirley Clarkson. And she's in England, and she set up shop in the early 1970s, and she started out just making a few little cottage things that sort of sold really well. And then she started making these guys, and they took off, and I think they're amazing. So these guys, I think, are the best Paddingtons out there, even better than the Steiff Paddington, I think. Look at that wee little face. So I do, because I've taught myself to sew and make doll clothes and all that sort of thing, I do have to find him more of these wooden toggles because he is missing one there. So before I give him to Mum, I need to find another one of those to sew in there. Now this next Paddington, I've started just buying these guys. If you can find them cheap on the internet, if they're a little bit damaged. So I've started buying damaged Paddingtons that aren't in the best of condition, and I'm going to fix them up and give them to my mum. So I bought this guy seriously ridiculously cheap in an auction on eBay. The bear himself is in really good condition, but as you can see, his jacket's a little bit poorly. So I got a pin sort of there, so it sort of keeps the jacket together. But the actual felt of the jacket isn't too bad, but I do need to fix these up for her. But what I wanted to do with this guy was, it's got a few holes as well. What I want to do with this guy is I actually want to try and cut a pattern from this jacket, fix this jacket up as well, and make little wardrobes for our Paddingtons. I'm in the middle of making them suitcases as well, so, and little tags. So that's this guy. That's what he is here for. And once I've finished with him, he'll be going home to my mum as well. So these are the Gabrielle Designs Paddingtons, and they're just amazing. They're actually really quite heavy. So they'd actually, because I weight my reborn dolls so that they have that nice weight to them. He's actually heavier than her. So these would be amazing, amazing for anyone that loves Paddington. And they're all over the internet. All right. So, what have we been making, Chloe? What have we been making? So, you guys all know that during COVID last year, I taught myself to sew. Now, at a doll show once, I found this pattern for this little dragon, and it was right back when I was a beginner. And myself and my friend who helps me sort of sew, she helps me if I get stuck with my sewing. Her and I just could not work out this pattern. So probably a year or so down the track, I worked out the pattern finally, and I was able to make him. So I finished him. So I've made him so that you can move his legs and his arms. So this is, I can't remember what the pattern is actually. I probably should have found that out. But he's an advanced pattern. And there's his little wings. He's meant to have all these little thingies down his back as well, but I don't know. I thought it sort of made him look overdone a little bit. There's a close-up of his face. So he's got his little nostrils, his little dragon nostrils that he blows fire from. And his wee little ears and his eyes. And of course I put my signature bow and bell on there as well. So he's really cool. And then using a fabric marker, I've drawn some mystical designs on him as well. So I also work with resin, so I make resin pieces for my dolls as well. So for this little guy, I've made him some butterflies, because he's like a little butterfly dragon, and he's got his little designs on his wings as well. And I've made him his own little mystical pyramid. So these guys, they stand up. So he quite easily stands up, or they can sit down. So they're really nicely posable. So that was the first one I made. So I want to make a bunch of them because I want to try and, sell them. So this is my next one I made. So he's a little bit better than that one because I learned a few lessons. But this one I made red. His face turned out a little bit different because I sort of worked out a few things. So he's got a little bit more of a different shape to his face. There's his little nostrils. I've given him bigger eyes, and he's got eyelashes as well. And I did his ears a little bit different. I thought, well, I might do different ears on them as well. And his his wee little belly and his little feet. I gave him toes. So the toes aren't in the pattern. I actually did that myself because I've been dabbling in doing a little bit of fabric sculpting on my dolls as well. He's only got 2 wings. He's got like 4 wings, but this guy I've given 2 big wings. And his special pyramid. So I'll be making him some butterflies today as well, when I'm doing my resin work later this afternoon. I usually do my resin work in the afternoon after I've finished making my porcelain or my reborn or my cloth dolls. That way the resin doesn't sort of make a mess of my doll making area. Chloe, what the hell have we been doing? What have you done with your hair, man? That is a rat's nest. Alright, so there are a few things that we wanted to show you. So now we're going to come across and we're going to read our storybook. So this is a book that I had in my childhood, the Puggle Tales, and I absolutely love Puggles. And I found this guy in an op shop. I don't think he's actually a Puggle, but he looks like a Puggle. On his tag it says Zumble, so I think that's a slightly different thing. I did have a stuffed Puggle when I was younger, but I couldn't resist this guy because I'm going to display him with my book. You guys know that I love my vintage books, so I do collect vintage and antique storybooks, and I've got a whole batch of them that I'll be reading here on YouTube for you all. So let's get reading Puggle Tale. Which way will I hold it? I don't know which way to hold it. Anyway, let's have a really good look at the cover. The Puggle Tale. And then we've got Grandma Puggles' Missing Silver Egg Timer. A Decalang book by A.A. Barber. So there was a whole series of these books. I kind of remember mine was a bit smaller. So, Chloe, can you sit up there? There we go. You sit up there for a moment. You can keep the Puggle happy. A story for adult children and childlike adults. So this is specifically for us. So, but if there are any children watching, you can keep watching, because I know this book is fine for young children as well. But this is a special one for our adults. There's our first picture. I love illustrations when they're partially coloured in and partially black and white. I think that's really cool effect. Okay, so this book is dedicated to my long-suffering family, my wife Sue and children Tamsin and Heston, who have patiently supported me during my journey into the world of Puggles. I love them all. There's another illustration just there, an egg timer. Okay, so what I might do is I might read, because otherwise I'm not going to be able to see, and then I'll show you the illustration. That chapter 1, so we're probably in here for a long haul. That horrible feeling in the tum, when in doubt and you can't find out where's something you've lost, stick your fingers in your ears and shout out clear, I'm lost, I'm lost, I'm lost. Shruggles look something like your pet cat, only they are Puggle pets and have long thin bodies and come in all colours from cow brown to pig pink. Penelope Puggle, Penelope's my favourite, she's my favourite Puggle, was holding this one upside down, shaking it violently over the kitchen sink. Now I'm sure you know your cat well, but I'll bet you a bubble gum to an old-fashioned jelly baby that it wouldn't take kindly to that sort of treatment. I know my cats wouldn't. Firstly, it would try and bite your arm off. Then, using your ears as stepping stones on its way to your head, it would sit aloft, eagerly pounding your eyebrows with wet front feet while trying to stop you breathing with its fat tail stuffed up your nose. Oh, that's a bit mean, isn't it? Oops, showing you the picture. Oh, there's a picture of Penelope shaking the cat upside down. It's a weird looking cat, isn't it? I wonder why she's shaking him upside down. Shruggles quite like being upside down. Oh, it gives them all a different view of life. But it was being shaken that upset this one. I know you've eaten it. I can't find it anywhere. It was here this morning when I took Grandma Puggles' breakfast tray up. And then when I came down to do the washing up, it was gone. You know that I know Shruggles will swallow almost anything, especially bright, shiny objects. And you can't find anything brighter and shinier than Grandma's silver egg timer. That egg timer has been handed down through the Puggle family from generation to generation. And when it comes into my care, I'm the one that has to lose it. There's the cat. Oh, he's looking a bit guilty. He looks like he's been up to shenanigans and slightly a bit peeved. She gave Shrug one final shake and he slipped from her grasp, head first into the sink, whereupon the poor creature scrambled out with back legs flying and jumped to the floor. straight into a large empty paper bag which slowly tipped over onto its side and made slight crinkling noises at it as its contents maneuvered for better viewing position. "No, I don't think you've eaten it," shrugged, "because you didn't rattle when I shook you. I've searched Gumleaf Cottage from top to bottom and found nothing. Nothing but a lot of old papers and junk which I threw out." Her speech turned slower than children getting out of bed. She finished a sentence with "this morning," then stopped suddenly, realizing that there was only one place a silver egg timer could be, and that was at the Puggle Town rubbish dump. Oh no. Anything in Puggle Town that looked remotely like it wasn't being used. Somehow disappeared overnight like magic and always ended up at the dump with the Uggles. So there's another picture there. A picture of a book. Puggles usually never went near the rubbish dump, which was a mysterious and dangerous place for them to be in. The Uggles couldn't exactly eat you. Oh my God, birds, keep it down. Can you hear those birds? Yelling when I'm trying to film a story time. Shh, birds. The Uggles wouldn't exactly eat you, but those sharp claws would give you a nasty cut, or they could run you with their hard noses, giving you a nasty bruise. They were so untidy they made the dump look clean. Sometimes they became so bad-tempered, usually on flyless days, such as the 14th time of the month, that any poor unfortunate Puggle that strayed into their clutching claws was rarely ever seen again in Puggleic. If a Puggle was really lucky, though, it might just get away with only being thrown in oily mud, then dropped into a bag of used budgerigar seed and chased back to Puggle Town, trying to avoid the sting from Uggle whips made out of rats' tails. Wow, they sound really mean. There we go, there's some illustration there. By now Penelope knew what she had to do, but she didn't think she had the courage to go through with it. Then she remembered the advice her parents had given her. "Penelope," they said, "any problems or worry, become someone." Oh, wait, I read that wrong. Sorry. "Penelope," they said, "any problem or worry becomes smaller if you share it with someone." Oh, that's why it didn't make sense. Who was brave enough to share this particular problem with her? Who did she know that would even just listen to her problem? Who did she know that was crazy enough to come with her to the Puggle Town rubbish dump? There was only one person who fitted that description. He wasn't crazy by any means. In fact, at times, he was really quite bright, even if he did become a bit boring with his endless puns and riddles. He always meant well and liked, yes, even enjoy attempting things that hadn't been said or done even before. Also, he was a kind and loyal friend who she had met many years ago at Puggle Carton. Yes, that was settled. By hurrying, she could reach Willow Weep Creek just before lunch, where she would be sure to find her friend Fruggle, GG for short, Geoffrey Greentoes. Chapter 2, Two's Company. A friend in need needs a friend indeed. Oh, Chloe just fell off the couch. Ugh. What did you fall off the couch for, you silly girl? Goodness me. Okay. A friend in need needs a friend indeed, especially one who's brave. But I'll give you a tip. Don't enter the dump. Your problem could turn very grave. It was a warm summer's day, and as Penelope approached the edge of Willow Weep Creek, the crickets started their high-pitched noise, making by rubbing their back legs together. How tiring! No wonder crickets have knobbly knees and rheumatism. Looking into a hollow log, She saw a neatly stacked pile of bulrush stems, obviously Gigi's emergency store of deep breathing tubes. That meant he wouldn't be far away. Geoffrey! Geoffrey! It's me, Penelope! I think I can see Geoffrey. Can you guys see him? All was still apart from the sound of knobbly knees rubbing together. Then suddenly, right in front of her, the water exploded into an upturned waterfall. Surprise! Surprise! A green Fruggle voice came from somewhere in the middle of the foaming fountain. Jumping from the water, Geoffrey Green-Toes Fruggle sailed right over Penelope's head, covering it with water weeds, and landed behind her on the bank. There he is, Geoffrey Green-Toes. Oh, Gigi, you frightened the peas out of me and put water everywhere. Don't worry, Penelope. Now you can say Gigi weeded all over you. That was a bit funny. It's lovely to see you again, guggled Gigi as he nibbled on squash mosquitoes picked out from between his toes. That's why we're called mosquitoes. Penelope wasted no time in telling her problem to her friend, who turned even greener than the word Uggle was mentioned. She finished, she waited for his answer and her call for help. Silence. Silence and more silence. Then a simple yes. Geoffrey Green-Toes Fruggle never puggled out when a friend of his needed help, even when he didn't have a clue on how to go about finding the lost silver egg timer. After basking in Penelope's gratitude for a minute or two, soaking up all the wonderfully true things she had to say about him, he decided they had better set off, however reluctantly, for their destination in order to catch up as much sunlight as possible. So again, there's one of those illustrations where the Puggles aren't coloured in. Maybe you can colour them in a little bit later, Chloe. Chapter 3. Two's company, three's even better. Grime doesn't pay is another way of saying this dump smells strong. I could get a job as a rubbish collector and pick it up as I go along. We've looked into teapots and found tadpoles, found maggots in mattresses, dead flowers in jam jars, live flies on dead rats, big mice in top hats, red paint in white shoes, tomatoes in green glue, and toothpaste in cold pea stew. But we can't find one silver egg timer anywhere. So spoke Gigi Fruggle, but poor-tired Penelope hardly heard him as they slowly wandered around the corner of the dump, surrounded on all sides by steep walls of rubbish which almost blocked out the early afternoon sun. A ray of light filtered down through the shadows and shone into the large upright sheet of corrugated iron. As the two of them sat down to rest, warming their backs on the metal, they heard a sniffle and then a snuffle and then a shuffle. It's my favourite Puggle, you'll see soon. Slowly they both put their heads through rusted holes to look in the direction of the noise. Penelope saw it first, a small hairy shape lying on its back with all four claws straight up in the air, the classic hunting position of an Puggle. Gigi leaned forward to get a better look, and his foot slipped on a soft sausage skin. "Tittering tadpoles, look out! Ants, hold on to your pants," he cried. The sheet of iron slowly puggled over. taking our two friends with it, head first, spluggity-splug. There they were, heads down, legs up, stuck fast, until something took hold of their feet and slowly pulled them out. "Gosh, you gave me a fright," said the Uggle they had just been spying on. "But we're supposed to be frightened of you." Penelope's voice came out from behind Gigi. "Oh, please, please don't remind me," the Uggle cried, pulling down long hair over his face, covering his shame. "I'll never make a horrible Uggle. I do try hard, but no one takes me seriously, not even you." He sat there, head in claws, chewing his hair, making deep little growls, not unlike someone snoring. "Can't we share your problem?" Penelope asked quietly. "What has 8 wheels and flies?" asked Gigi cheerfully. "Don't know, huh? Well, it's a Puggle dump rubbish cart." In a burst of words and tears, the little Uggle poured forth his sad story. Well-meaning parents had called him Beautiful One. His clumsiness scared the flies away. He couldn't crack a rat's tail whip. He was beaten every time at flies and crosses, and found that being mean and nasty was difficult. Even his fly pates turned runny. Shortening Beautiful One to B.O. helped a bit, but not much. If only he could win the annual Puggle Dump fly catching trophy. That would show the other Uggles that he was really one of them. "Well, is that all?" shouted Gigi. "Winning trophies is my speciality. I entered a sneezing championship once, won a gold medal. As long as the rules allow it, Penelope and I will help you in this fly-catching competition." "Uggles don't have rules to anything," said B.O. "You just have to catch as many flies as you can. The record is 3 at one time, but it's too late for me to learn. The championship starts soon in the centre of the dump." "That's nonsense, isn't it, Penelope?" said Gigi. "We're going to put you through an advanced course in fly catching, B.O. You must not keep thinking that you're a cow that won't give milk. No one is an utter failure." Gigi stood up and beckoned Penelope to follow him. The fly catching lessons were about to start. Poor B.O. They hung him, they dropped him, they rolled him, they bowled him, hit him and slid him. He's quite cute, isn't he? He was my favourite when I was a little girl. Hold it, Gigi shouted. We're doing it all wrong. If we can't get B.O. to the flies, then we'll bring the flies to B.O. Listen, my friend, I had a plan. They huddled together, whispering and gesturing, then came to a decision. Can you get Penelope and myself safely to the arena before anyone else arrives? This was the best news an exhausted B.O. had heard all day. Answering yes, he quickly led his 2 companions deeper through the piles of rubbish. Chapter 4. If at first you don't succeed, fly again. Bread and mud are great to munch between your breakfast and your lunch, but nothing beats fried fly for tea. Supper's nice with pickled flea. Later, all was ready in the arena, which was a large circular opening surrounded by high walls of rubbish. Spaced 2 dead rats apart, empty tins had been placed underneath the outside. In the centre of this arena sat one solitary upside-down rubbish bin. Hiding underneath, as quiet as church muggles, were Penelope and Gigi Fruggle, peeping through the holes in the sides. The entrance to the arena was a large concrete pipe, through which the Uggles were already tuggling their way. Before long, every Uggle was gathered there, sitting comfortably on top of each tin, holding a mallee root club, or a short wattle tree stick, in their right claw. Even an Uggle society left handlers left handlers have a tough time. A hush fell over the arena when the oldest, wisest Uggle among them, carrying a pea sack over his shoulder, walked slowly towards the upturned garbage bin and stopped directly in front. It turned dark inside. Gigi and Penelope kept still and quiet. The elder removed from the pea sack the fly-catching trophy and set it down on the bin with a bang. Penelope and Gigi went cross-eyed with the noise. That's a great picture. Look at all the Uggles. And can you see Penelope and Gigi peeking out from the bin? Stepping to one side, the elder called out 3 times, loudly and majestically, "Bring on the fly holder." From inside the dustbin, every Fruggle eye and one Puggle eye watched with amazement as the fly holder appeared, moving very slowly and very carefully towards their hiding place. The Uggle was without a doubt the biggest, fattest, heaviest Uggle they had ever seen. It just had to be, as all the live flies for the competitors were tied separately to each single strand of his long hair. There were 5 flies allotted to each competitor. With that much wing power tugging at his body, the fly holder couldn't afford to be fly weight. Last year's fly holder still hasn't been found. He didn't eat a big enough meal before he was tied to his work and got a raise without asking. The giant ball of dust and buzzing fly wings came to a stop. "Let the first contestant come forward," commanded the elder Uggle. A rather scruffy red individual jumped off his tin, hurried out to the centre of the arena, carrying a butterfly net with one claw, and placed himself 4 standard Uggle lengths away from the fly holder. "Release 5 flies," came the order. It was obeyed, and to the delight of the ring creatures, running and jumping furiously, the red Uggle chased the flies around the arena. Swipe went the net. Caught one, munch munch. Landing on the ground, the remaining flies rested while the red menace crept slowly up to them. Suddenly, with a jump and a lunge, he brought down the net. It missed by a Puggle meter, hitting the ground so hard that the handle broke off, throwing the Uggle off balance, causing him to land in a dusty thump flat on his back. An excellent viewing position to watch 4 flies soar off into the sky. All the sitting Uggles banged their sticks half-heartedly on the sides of the tins to show disapproval of this effort. "I do hope B.O. does better than that," said Penelope, her eye pressed to the hole in the rubbish bin. Now, don't worry," said Gigi, putting a comforting arm around her. "We've done all we can to help. It's up to him now. He'll be okay." They both continued to watch the other competitors. One by one, the Uggles took part, each with a new method of catching the victims. A green Uggle tried to club them senseless with an oil frying pan. This worked well on 2 flies he flattened, but unfortunately they were on his foot at the same time. Sent get well messages to Limping Uggle, care of Puggletown Dump. Ooh, that looks sore. An ingenious orange Uggle knocked 2 stakes on the ground, then fixing each end to an old mattress, spring over each one, pulled it back like a huge slingshot, and loaded it with a piece of wood with nails sticking out. These, he hoped, would stab the passing flies. It would have worked wonderfully if the Uggle's long hair hadn't got caught around one of the nails, causing him to be the first and fastest to leave the arena. They didn't bang their sticks very hard for that little effort, and Penelope and Gigi nearly gave themselves away laughing. So the competition went on until the second last entrant, who was trying for the 7th time to win. Experience showed, though, he knew what he was doing, and there was almost no flies on this Uggle, just like the fly holder by now. Using a gum tree stick to prop up a rubbish bin lid and attaching a long piece of string to it, he waited until the flies had landed in its shadow, then pulled the stick away. Oh dear, Penelope sighed. Look, Gigi, he caught 3 flies. Frowning, Gigi agreed that it didn't look good for the last competitor. Poor old B.O. Chapter 5. A pair of surprises appear. When Uggle eyes are on you and friends' fingers are crossed, fast pedal your leggles and show those flies who's boss. The noise of enthusiastic stick banging on tins died away and was replaced by laughter. The laughter was directed at one small Uggle, struggling into the arena, pulling behind him the weirdest contraption they had ever seen. Look, it's B.O., he's here! Penelope jumped up and down excitedly, and Gigi shouted, Come on, fly holder, get your flies undone. B.O. prepared his machine, then indicated that all was ready. The laughing stopped. Every Uggle eye was looking at the fly holder and the remaining 5 flies. Quickly he released them. They took off in fast flight and did a complete trip around the arena, stopping once for a rest on the rubbish bin where B.O.'s anxious friends were hiding. One crawled over Penelope's peephole, and she thought for a minute she had gone blind. They took off again, flying in a group. B.O. had remembered his instructions. Wait until the flies were almost between you and the machine. There's his machine. At last, we can show you Gigi's secret plan. The amazing fly-catching machine, designed and built before the 3 friends came to the arena. Here it is. There's the blueprint. Ooh. Penelope's heart was thumping. She was so nervous her eyes were closed. Gigi Fruggle watched the flies as they came steadily over to the right spot. Show you this picture first. Not yet, he whispered to himself. Now, B.O., now! I wonder how many flies he's going to catch. B.O. did as he had been taught. The contraption was set in motion. The propeller turned. The wind blew. The flies went with it. Bracing himself, claws at the ready. Beautiful one performed beautifully. Gigi counted the flies B.O. had caught, 1 in each claw and 1 tucked under his chin. The audience went mad, and all the Puggles banged their sticks as hard as they could. This was a world fly-catching record. For an Uggle, B.O. was a hero. The Uggles swarmed into the arena and lifted him up onto their shoulders, cheering wildly. Beaming all over his face, he was presented with the trophy. Someone called, "Speech! Speech!" So they let their champion down to the ground where, excuse me, where still clutching the trophy, he tipped over the rubbish bin to reveal Penelope and Gigi. "These are my friends. As this year's fly-catching champion, I give them safe passage of Puggle Town rubbish dump today. Anyone who tries to stop them will answer to me." Bo winked at Penelope cheekily. Ooh, it's an interesting trophy. Have a really good look at that trophy. "Look," she said excitedly. "I can't believe it. There's Grandma's silver egg timer right on top of your trophy. We found it. Oh, this is wonderful. We found it. Could we please have our property back, please? If that's all you want, then it's yours," said Bo, smiling, and he handed over the egg timer to his excited friends. Gigi thanked him warmly, then looking nervously around at the dozens of Uggle faces peering at them, asked if Penelope and himself could begin their long trip back home before it got too dark. Penelope was so happy she gave the beautiful one a little kiss on the nose. But you couldn't see him going red because he shook his long hair over his face again to cover his embarrassment. "I think he's enough. I think he's enough." Waving goodbye, Gigi and Penelope walked out of the arena hand in hand, home to Puggle Town. Sighing, she did a lot of that. Penelope asked Gigi to come back to Gumleaf Cottage and join her and Grandma Puggle in a bowl of split pea soup. Feeling much like his old self, Gigi replied, "Do you think there'll be room in it for all of us?" And that's the end of our story. But there is one more page that I'll show you. Grandma Puggle. There she is. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's story. I know Chloe did. So this is the book. If you want to try and grab that book for yourself. And I believe there's a lot of different editions of different stories that you can get in this series as well. All right, guys, so we're going to go because it's lunchtime, and we'll talk to you again very soon. Bye.